Alright, so we now have the drawers with the holes, and we need to create a tunnel. Hide everything except for the collisions. And move where the collisions are. The hole in the house. And make sure you're not in edit mode. Create a plane. And move it where the hole is. Enter edit mode. And shift the vertices around the hole so you match them perfectly. And a new cut. And if you remember from the previous video, I said that the pad is about 2 meters high. So we need to go down about 2 meters from where the tunnel starts. Select the edges, number 2, loop select, and then press E to extrude and Z to extrude on Z axis, and go about 2 meters. Z minus 2.0. Like that. If you do that, most likely you will also have to create some sort of stairs or a ladder for the pad to go up. So keep that in mind. Number 2, dissolve this edge. Number 3, select face, delete face. Now, those faces are facing outward and needs to face inward because it's a tunnel. So select the face, press A to select all, and then Alt and N, and flip the normals like that. And the normal should be red on the outside and blue on the inside. Most likely for you it's going to be a lot more intense than for me. I modified so it's easier for me. And center it a little bit. Move it right where the beginning of the hole is. And previously I talked about having a little bit of a trick where the collision for the tunnel will expand outward to help if you don't manage to perfectly match the holes. So let's do that. I don't need to do that. It's just for you. So if you run into that issue, you know how to handle it. So loop select the line, press E, Z to extrude and move it up a little bit, and then E to extrude and S to resize, expand it like that, and then press E and Z to extrude downward on the Z-axis. So you create additional collisions to help with the mismatching hole, if happens to be one of the issues you have. All right, let's create the tunnel. Save your work. EZ. I guess go down another 2 meters. Minus 2.0. And the collisions, the world coordinate dictates that we go in this way. So get out of edit mode, select this collision, enter edit mode, press number 2, loop select the edge, press E and Z, and move it about 2.5, minus 2.5. I guess we can match the height of all the vertices to be the same. So select this, select the vertices, decide which vertex you want to match. And I decided this one is going to be what I'm going to be aligning the other ones to. That's mainly so we have a flat ground under the player. And press number 3, select those faces. Press P and separate selection. You can find the geometry that I just created. Make sure that you do that and then hold Shift and move it to Scene Collection. So that's exit. And we have the other one that says, actually let's center first. If you remember, we created the plane in here. We're gonna call it enter. So I just showed you 2 ways of creating collisions from the existing mesh. One is through a plane and one extruding from the original mesh. So basically right now, that's all we need. Those 2. I think it's time for us to merge. So select those two in the list and press Ctrl J. That will merge the geometry into one. And that's pretty much the distance between those two. Next, if you remember, I said the player it's about 180, 1 meter, 1.8 meters high. And to play it safe, if you want to jump inside the tunnel, most likely you're gonna hit your head on the ceiling. So we have to make it a little bit higher. And the problem with hitting your head is sometimes the collision fails, and the player will will land into void. So the tunnel has to be a little bit taller, so that doesn't happen. Number 2. So this is already 2 meters tall, and we have an additional 2 meters in here. So we're gonna move it about another half a meter, something like that, 0.5 minus and let's match the vertices height. Actually, this is perfect. But this is inside the house, and whoever's going to be inside is not going to be visible from outside. So the difference is that you can have the player jump down and start walking towards the exit right away. So we do not need to create all that much geometry in here. So we're gonna do GZ, move it another 0.5 minus. All right. So this face, number 3, select the face. Let's create a cube that's exactly 2 meters high, so we know exactly how much geometry to create on top of that. So exit edit mode, cube, G, hold Control, and move the mouse over that. So the default cube is 2 meters high. To check that, 2 meters. So Z 1.6 or 1.8. So that's how much space the player is gonna have above their head when they start walking towards the exit, just so it's clear. Enter edit mode, select the face, press I to insert, select the top edge, number 2, and match the vertex, the top of the cube in here, and then move it up. Again, we said that the player needs to jump a little. If you feel like this is not enough space, enough room for the player, first let's cap the flooring here. press F, then move it down. Move it down another, let's see, minus 0.5. And then move this edge a bit down, about the same. And this edge too. Like that. And this is exactly the width of the tunnel. So press number 3, select the face, press delete, face. So when the player goes down, this is what they're going to be seeing. Press number 2, select the edge, hold Shift and Alt, and from global to normal. Press E and Y. Whoop. We do not need to extrude a whole lot more because this bit of geometry is gonna be merge with the one at the house. So let's go at the house. I think this bit should be wider because this is where the player will start walking. So move that way. Select the cube, move it where the stuff is. G, control that to have a good idea how much space we have on top. Okay, so we create, I think we overdone it. The plate is not that wide, so just go back, select the edge, move it a little bit like that, and select this edge, hold Alt, and move it up a little bit. Again, this is how tall the player is, and this is the room overhead. And press number 3, select this face, press I to insert. Press delete, face, number 2, hold Alt, let's hide the cube, and press E to extrude. Kind of make it like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Move it up. And this is what the player is going to see when they jump down the tunnel. The beginning of the tunnel. So press this edge, select this edge, hold Alt, and press F. That will cap and create the floor. One thing you need to be aware of, so this piece of geometry has 4 edges, and we're going back to the other piece of geometry in here. This also has 4 edges. Why is that important? You will see in a second. If those two do not match, when you try to Blender is, of course, so I gotta trick Blender into letting you zoom in. So where we still have those 4 edges selected. If you look at this area here, it says edges 4. If you do not see those that bit of text, you just click on text info statistics and hold shift and alt and select on this edge. So we now have 4 edges selected. Let's see what happened if we... No, it doesn't work that way. God damn it, Blender. So we select this edge and this edge and press F. That will create a link between those 2 edges and the lateral walls. We also created a face in here. We do not need that. Press number 4, number 3, and delete. Then number 2, select this edge. And undo the selection until you have only one. And select this edge and press F. We gotta delete this face again, number 3. Select the face, delete, save. Then number 2, hold Alt and press F. Select this edge, hold Alt and press F. So we now have a tunnel that goes from the beach all the way to where the hill is. And that should match the collision coordinates. To test that, we don't need the cutter. So the player will jump down and will swim for a bit. The swimming part is kind of tricky because I guess we gotta do that. Let's do that before I forget. So also very important, I'm glad that I see it. This face is facing outward. In game, if you do not address that issue, this face will be invisible from inside. So this one is red, that will be invisible from inside. So number 3, select the face, Alt N and flip. So right now every single face, it's pointing inside. Double check at the house. We do not have that issue anywhere else. The cube needs to be hidden. Like so. Looks good. So we need to continue making the player. Yeah, the moment you work with large objects, Blender it's a bit shitty. So let's not make the player swim for too long. Number 2, select edge loop. Move this kind of... So this is the distance the player will have to swim, right? Like so. With those 4 edges selected, press Ctrl B to bevel. Give it about that much space. And then select this edge, hold Alt, and click on that edge, and switch to View. And move this higher, so the player doesn't have to swim. You can just start walking upwards and out of the water. I think we should create extra space in here. And maybe in here too. Number 2, number 3 to select face, and move it up a little bit, like that. Now, of course, you can, if you insist on creating more details to the tunnel, this is just a tutorial, keep in mind, so try to keep it short. Let me disable the relationship lines. So number 2, if you want to create more curves and all that stuff, select your stuff in here. Number 2, you have edges selected, press Ctrl R, and where you see the loop cut, just using the scroll you create additional geometry, right? And then click. Press Escape, that will create more segments. If you insist on having that kind of stuff, just select number 3 on the keyboard, select those faces, and move it to the left or right if you want to create a little bit of a bendy look. Or even going up and down. Like so. If you want to create those bands, make it look a little smoother, just select the edges, Alt Shift, and press Ctrl B again. And the band is going to be smooth, like that. Do not go overboard with this. You're trying to keep it low poly. Most likely this is going to be dark, so whatever details you think you're going to be creating most likely is not going to be visible, so be aware of that. All right, let's we are already 30 minutes into this. Next we will be texturing and exporting the tunnel in game. See you shortly.